Yo, 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 what it do, what it do. Today we have Mr. J.B. Hilliard, author of Women's Star series. It's a series that is definitely something that is exciting, it's explosive, it leaves something to the imagination. Everybody, please make sure you follow up and check out Mr. JB's Women's Star series because I think that you'll love it. I'm loving just what I've even heard about it and the things that I've watched on the website. I think that is awesome. So please, by all means, check it out, and check it out. So, Mr. JB, please enlighten us. Give us more about you, about Woman Star series. Please give us more, and thank you so much for joining YTP Entertainment. It's a blessing. We love it.
Well, hey, thank you very much for having me, man. I appreciate to be on the coming on the show. The series is an action adventure series at its core. It's really epic fantasy meets a little dark fantasy. So if you liked Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones, or you've ever played Dungeons and Dragons, it's set in that genre, with unique creatures and unique, races and unique magic systems and things like that. But then I also give it a little bit of a gothic spin. So what makes it stand out from the rest is it has a dark side to it. Like the villain is pretty dark. It almost has sort of like a Dracula feel to it, or like I mentioned, sort of like a gothic feel. So if you're a fan of Bram Stoker or Mary Shelley or Stephen King, you might also like portions of this because I try to mix them into the series. And it's a 4-book series. The first 2 books, Last Keeper and Voradin's Lair, are out on the market now. The 3rd book comes out next month in July. That's going to be called Trillia's Gambit. And then the series finishes up right around the holidays with Echoes of Ghostwood, which is the final book in the series. And so, if you're a fan of that stuff and you like it, that's really what the kind of stuff that I write. And if you've, ever played any of the role-playing games or any of the, video games, you're gonna find this fits in nicely from an RPG perspective.
Man, that is awesome. I love that. I love those types of things. And as you can see, I'm a big Marvel.
Nerd like me, man. You're wearing a Narv. I'm wearing a NASA shirt, so you know where we're coming from.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I love it, man. I love it. Give me sci-fi. Give me sci.
Well, hey, for what it's worth, my books are there's an adaptation coming for a graphic novel that should be out in sometime like late 2024. They're taking the first of the 4 novels and making them so for those adults that still like to read comics, like
Yes,
your
yes,
Marvel,
yes.
that's another medium in which they can be digested. And there's also a video game. I've licensed the intellectual property from the 4 novels to a video game company that's making an augmented reality and then eventually a virtual reality game out of it. So if you're a big gamer, you'll be able to
Yes.
play some of the characters, create your own avatars, do things not just on your computer but on your phone, or you throw on your goggles, your new Apple glasses that came out a little bit ago, and check it out. It might be worth it. But then you'll get a chance to meet the characters and see them in action.
Wow, that is so cool. And I actually have the Oculus. So you get a chance to get into the virtual reality aspect of it. Oh my goodness. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I can't wait to do that. I'm not a technologist, but obviously the video game guys that are doing it are, and I've just been seeing it through the fishbowl, right? Like I'm on the outside helping them like storyboard it so that it stays within the framework of the novels while
Yes.
also giving them leadway to do stuff that is fun for gamers to do. So you can walk away from a situation and not choose to go down that path. It's like choose
Right.
your own adventure, right? When it comes down to it. And I think that's appealing to a lot of folks, but then being able to meet others in the realm and trade weapons and trade gold and get skills,
Yes.
level up, and still get a chance to meet some of the characters that are
Awesome.
embedded in the novels, and see them in a video games perspective is going to be cool. Or actually seeing it come to life as a comic book guy,
Wow.
seeing somebody take what you've done and put art around it, and you're
Yes.
like, oh my God, that's exactly how I'm picturing the bad guy, or that's exactly how I'm picturing this character. And you get excited seeing that stuff, and you're like, how did you do that? And you're like, I don't know, how did you write this? You know, so it's just a different form of art, and you learn to appreciate it from my side of the table.
Yes, oh my goodness. So are the video games are gonna follow the storyline?
For the most part, there's going to be some leeway in there. In part, the idea behind the video game is to really allow folks to play their own game.
Mhm.
And you're playing within the realm of Warminster, and there are opportunities if you wanted to go on a quest and meet some of the characters that are in the book, you can do that, but you don't have to do that if you don't want to. You could just play the game as it is. And so my job on the outside is to really help them understand what the realm's like, what's in it, what they can't use, what they should use, and then they'll bounce ideas off of me from time to time. But at the end of the day, it's their product. They're gonna do what they want with it. And I'm really enjoying being part of the process. And it's a lot
Cool.
of fun because you get asked all the time, like as an author, you're like, oh, what if this was made a movie or a Netflix series? And it sounds great. No one has ever said to me, hey, can you wait to see your books become a video game? And when that happened, they called me. I was like, really? I was like, all right, that's cool. They're like, well, we read it. The CEO had read it, and he's
Exactly.
like, this is so descriptive. It's so rich. We want to make it a game.
Awesome.
And so we started down that path, and then that's on the docket for 24, and then the VR will come out in 25, and then graphic novel will be out sometime late in 24. So we're getting there, getting
Awesome.
there.
That is awesome. I'm definitely happy for you, bro. To know that
Thanks, bro.
I'm
Yep, thanks.
for you. That is awesome. So how long have you been doing this?
It started with COVID. My day job prior to this was I was a DC lobbyist. I was doing defense and technology work for the,
Okay.
for tech companies that needed to go in front of the Department of Defense or the Pentagon or legislative, folks. And then when COVID came and it shut everything down, and I was just sitting at home, and my wife said to me, you're not going to sit around doing nothing, are you? And I said, no, no, I'll do something. And one of the things I had on my bucket list was to write these books. I've always had this idea since I was a kid.
Oh wow.
And so I started writing them, and I wrote a novel, the
Uh,
end, or so I thought. And all of a sudden I get to a publisher, and she's like, yeah, I'll publish your stuff, but you're writing fantasy, so we need a series. Your readers are going to expect a series. So can you commit to 3 books? And then 3 books became 4 books. And then,
awesome.
we're finalizing the first Warminster saga, and then we'll see what comes after that. But it's turned into its own career, and I've really
Wow.
enjoyed it, and it's so much fun. I can't tell you, it's my day job prior to that was all realism. It was all stress. It was all, like, oh, I gotta, this is gonna be tough and pressure. Here it's like I go to a coffee shop and I write, and I show up at a convention and I sell books. I mean, it's like, okay, I think I know how I want to retire. This is the way I'm going. Let's
I can bet
let's
you
let's
turn
do this.
it in, right? That's pretty cool.
I think so too.
Can you imagine going out and after everything is released and someone actually seeing you and they're like, "Hey, you're the one who wrote uh Warminster, Womenster." They can't get it right because you know how some people they just butcher everything.
That's okay. I've already had some experiences like that, right? Like like I had people, like I've gotten, what's humbling is you'll get fan art. Like
Uh-huh.
someone will say, this is the character that this is how I envision them in your head, and they send it to you via email. Or you run into someone who's wants your autograph. I had a guy at GalaxyCon in Richmond back in May
Okay.
who made baseball cards of his favorite authors,
Oh
and he
wow.
brought the baseball card with my mug on it to sign instead of the book. He's like, I have the book, but I want you to sign my baseball card. I was like, a baseball card of me? And like you walk away from that, you're like, are you kidding? Like, did that just happen? And it's flattering, right? It's just
It
really
is.
flattering. And
It is.
from my perspective, I look at that. So I get critiques from fans who, "Oh, I didn't like the way this character died," or let's please don't kill this character, or I this is my favorite character, and make sure that they do this, this, and this. And you're like, I already actually wrote that. It's already done. It's in editing. So I can't help you. You know, you don't want to tell them. By the same token, you're like, oh yeah, this is gonna come crashing down. You know, the end, they don't. It's just fun. It's fun stuff.
It is. Well, I can't say I don't know what that's like. Here's what one of my fans did.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. That's actually pretty good. Makes you look older though. You look younger in person.
I know, right?
Kind of look like Mike Tomlin there.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's not a bad likeness, right?
Exactly. That's true. Oh my goodness. And I ran into those people who they actually wanted me to autograph their book. They purchased my book and they wanted me to autograph the book. And even at some of the events, it's like sometimes it can get pretty crazy. It's like, oh my goodness, like so many people come in all at once. And then people start the grabbing, and it's like, no, don't do the grabbing part. Let me be able to walk in peace. Don't do the grabbing. It's tough. It gets tough. And I mean, I didn't have any bodyguards or anything. So the people who I was at the events with, they had to call the bodyguards, say, hey, help this man, because all I wanted to do was just go to the restroom.
I haven't had any of those problems yet. So, hey, maybe I'm lucky.
Yes. And I kid you not, it took me back to Michael Jackson when Michael Jackson said sometimes the fans can be scary. To say they have good intentions, they mean well, but sometimes they can be scary with their actions. And that was a pretty scary experience. I kid you not. I mean, it felt like because you could feel the scratch. I went home with scratches on me, and my ex-wife was like, "Who is that? You've been out here messing." I was like, "No, it's not like that."
Ouch, ouch. Yeah.
And it
Yeah,
was
that's when it's hard to explain.
it was, but it was one of the biggest openings I had actually did, because I opened for Cool in the Game, the Gap Band, Mary, Johnny Gill, and Rick James' siblings. This was right after Rick James had passed. And I'm in Georgia, Stone Mountain, Georgia, at a club called Club Pisces. And just tried to go to the restroom after sitting in the VIP section. And they was like, yeah. And I was like, oh my goodness, what in the world is going on? I've never experienced that before. That was my first time. And I was like, I never want to experience that again.
Yeah, that's some serious stuff. Like my stuff is like I have nerds, right? Like nerds want to, the nerds and geeks come up to you and they want to press you on things. I want to know exactly how the spell worked and what was the language. It's a little different kind of fan base.
Right. I think I would rather switch with you. I'll take your fan.
Hey, for a day, right? One day. We'll do it.
At least today. Let me see what that's like.
I don't know if I can pull it off, but I'll try. Yeah, I'm Yehloe. Yeah, I'm here. What's up? It's not gonna work. Man, I'm so white, I'm pink. It isn't gonna happen. Like, no. Look at that. I don't think no, we could try. The beard, maybe.
Yeah.
The haircut, put the hat down a little bit. I'm not as you got tights. I don't have those either. But
just switch the hat. Switch the hat. But they won't pay attention to the body part.
No. Yeah. I'll go sit with the nerds where I belong. I'm all right. Hey, we all find our level, right?
Yes, indeed. That is so true. This is definitely one of the most fun podcasts.
You didn't expect this, did you?
I did not. I did not expect this at all. But I must say, I'm grateful. I am grateful because, I mean, some of the people can be so serious, and it's like, it's no problem being serious, but guess what? I'm going to do something silly. Yes. Yeah. You might as well be.
The nature of it, right? It makes for good viewing, right? You got to, people that want a little action. Being serious is okay, but, I'm not at an insurance convention. I'm doing a podcast with an entertainer.
Exactly.
His job is to entertain his viewers, right?
You gotta make it fun, gotta make it exciting, gotta make it informative. People want to actually listen to it, people want to actually see what's going on. And at the same time, when we're laughing, what do you think our audience is doing?
We're laughing too, right?
Laughing or at least crack a smile.
Yeah, having fun.
Yes,
Keep that
indeed.
ticker rolling.
So I see you have something similar to my situation, that we can actually, you had an uncle that actually helped to raise you, right?
Yeah, yeah. So he was a second father to me. He was paralyzed in the war. He was a Marine, and
Hmm.
my mom ended up being his nurse. And when he came home, I grew up by his side, and he helped raise me. I was reading before I went to kindergarten. I was doing algebra in the third grade.
Hmm.
He was really father figure in many ways, and it's one of the reasons I started to write because there were a few things he could do. He was really limited as a quadriplegic.
Hmm.
Uh, and so his form of escapism was writing. He was able to they fashioned a tool that he was able to use in his closed hands to type on a typewriter back in the day.
So,
And as a result, he would send basically horror stories out to like magazines and pulp fiction outlets and stuff and get published every
mm,
now and then. And so of course I wanted to be like him. So I
yes.
wanted to write. When I got to school, like fourth grade, maybe fifth grade, I had a class where my English teacher read us The Hobbit, and I fell in love with fantasy adventure after that. And I went home, and for that Christmas, he ended up getting me a box set of Dungeons and Dragons. Now, if that's not nerdy enough for anybody, it is, right? So he drops D&D, but again, for him, that was a form of escapism. He could escape his body and be whatever he wanted, within the game, and it allowed him to do stuff with me, even though we were just sitting in his bedroom or sitting next to his wheelchair or whatever it might be. And so for me, I've always respected that. And eventually with his, he was a sick guy, and his wounds caught up to him, and he eventually passed away. And, I honor that by memorializing some of those games that
Mhm.
we played and the stories that we wrote together when I was growing up, and I just turned them into my novels. So I hope people enjoy it. And if you had the same experience and you had a family member help you that
Yeah,
might be a little non-traditional,
yeah,
we're cut from the same cloth.
yeah. My uncle, I had actually two of them that I would recognize in this mannerism because my grandmother's brother, which was my great uncle, he was blind, and he's been blind ever since he was a little boy, and he doesn't know this, and I never got a chance to tell him this, but I was so intrigued and so inspired by the things that he was able to do just as a blind man. And I would take those things and I would learn from those things that he was able to do. And I actually wanted to see what it was like to do that. And it actually helped me to learn more about understanding meditation because I closed my eyes to do my meditation. It helped me to understand more about the silent communication, and I say that because when you look at a person that actually closes their eyes, what's the next phase that they do? They usually become silent. They usually don't want to say anything. Everything is just running through their mind and allowing their minds to actually talk. And that helped me to create so many different poems as I was growing up. And I could do nothing but want to spend more time with him and wanted to be around him. But he had a wife and a daughter that he was actually, responsible for. And he was doing everything that a man that could see was doing for his family. He was he owned his own church, so he was the pastor of the church as well. And it was just inspiring seeing all the things that he was doing. Then I had another uncle who actually lived in the household with me. He did a lot of research and a lot of studying, and he at one point didn't follow any particular sect or religious belief. He was just doing a lot of studies about different types of religion or different aspects about life. And I adopted that. thing from him that he was actually doing. And plus he was like really, really buff, working out and stuff like that. And you would see him working out almost every day. Regardless of who was watching him or anything, he would stand there and his room is open and you could just see him just going to going to work, working out really hard. So now when I work out hard just as well as because I saw him doing it. And he had some of the best advice because I wasn't raised by my parents. I wasn't raised by my mom or my dad, but he had some of the best advice and he was always there for his children. Now, how he managed to spend time with his children and still come and spend time with me, giving me advice and talking to me about growing up as a man. I don't know how he managed that time, but I'm grateful that I learned so much from him and so much from watching him. And I actually spend time with my children, even though my children are grown, they still come to me for advice, asking me to help them with different aspects of their lives. So
You know, that's a really cool story, and I'm glad we share something because, first of all, you learn something about character, right? And how, and regardless if it's something that you find spiritual, religious, or something you find moral,
yes,
I think those are some of those themes I've embedded in my novels. The struggle of the stuff that you went through, and that he decided, you know what, I'm going to make sure that I take care of him too. He didn't have to do that, but he did it.
exactly.
Right, and same thing with, like, my mother didn't have to give up her life to be his nurse until his
Mhm.
passing, but she did because it was dutiful, and it was a way of serving others who had served them. He got paralyzed in a war protecting us all,
Yeah,
and stuff like that. And so, you look at those things, you learn from them, and like you said, you learn in silence sometimes, and it's the words that are whispered in your ear that mean more than those that are screamed in your ear, right?
yes,
And so, like, those kind of things you pick up and you learn, and I've baked a lot of those things in my novels just because I've seen them. Like, my one of the characters in the novel is blind. It's weird that you say that. He was born blind, but his God gives him sight, but with that sight comes a bit of a curse where he sees the future,
Mhm.
and he doesn't know how to handle that in the beginning until he learns to harness that, and he realizes that he can then affect it to stop bad things from happening. So it's more like a gift, a curse to become
Yes,
that when he's younger, but as he gets older and wiser, it becomes a
yes.
gift. He's able to help people, and he gives back. And
Wow.
then once he gets that gift, he goes blind again. It's like the weird, I try to use that, or like in my uncle's case, he served. Like, he didn't have to go to the war. He went. He chose to go, and came back in the condition, and the family and the community rallied around him to help him. And so I used that as a young kid. I saw that, and I used that to build one of my characters who's a very dutiful guy, almost to a fault, where, he's kind of like my Jon Snow or my Aragorn, to use those kind of things where it's not,
Totally
there's no
understand.
Tony Stark in him. You know what I mean? He's all Captain America, and his name is Ritter.
Yes.
And Sir Ritter of Vulcaneer is like, he's the guy that will charge into the breach. He's the guy that will fall on his sword for king and kingdom and kin. And and you that's the kind of guy that, I, to some degree, I saw my uncle in. And
Mm,
it's cool that you've been able to use those things, and and now
yes.
you're passing them along, and I'm doing the same thing on my side. You see them,
Awesome.
and if I can give that to my readership, people that are reading the books, and they can see,
Yes.
because that's the one thing we all can agree on, right?
Yes.
It doesn't matter what kind of struggle. If there's struggle, you always are cheering for somebody, even if it's a bad guy, like Darth Vader. Like, everybody knew he was once good and he's bad, and it's like, come back to the light, Darth. Come on
Yes.
back. We
Yes.
want Anakin back. And it's, does he do that or not? And that's the interesting. That's what keeps people flipping the pages, right? Or what's happening, like the struggle. There's like forbidden love, or this struggle between the call to duty and this forbidden love, or
Yes.
sacrifice, and all those kind of
Yes.
things. And I think that motivates, because I think all of those themes make good stories. And you and I have true to life stories that have some of those things embedded in them. And
Yes.
guess what? We write what we know,
Yes,
right? And
indeed.
that's what we know. So, whether you're taking sort of like a religious or faith-based approach to it, and
Mhm.
you're saying, look, we're doing this because it's the right thing to do, or you're doing it from a societal perspective and saying, look, we lived the wrong way before. Let's learn from those lessons of the past and live a better way now, and teach our kids to do that. And that's the kind of stuff I find motivating, and it's hidden. because it's not blatant, but it's stuff that you find yourself, you're reading it, you're like cheering for these characters. You're not cheering for the bad guys, you're cheering for the good guys, right? And you want them to overcome these things and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I hear you on that.
Oh my goodness, man. And you just reminded me of my what when you said love, just reminds me because my grandmother was one of the most loving people. That's what I was raised by. And I kid you not, she showed love to everybody and everybody showed love to her. And one of the biggest, most massive things that I can remember was back at home, because I'm originally from Chicago. Back at home, there was this incident where the police was chasing this guy, he was shooting, and me and my best friend were actually standing in front of the house where I live. They were shooting, and I grabbed him, and we ran into the little gangway in between the two houses. He stuck his head out, and I snatched him back, literally just in time, because the bullet hit the brick wall and went back out. And it was right there where he had just peeked his head out at. And it was such a blessing that I had grabbed him. And my grandmother, she
mysterious ways, brother.
Yeah,
it's weird how that happens. You're like guardian angel right there. You're like, you're not dying today.
She found out what I did, and my grandmother was like, "Do you realize that you saved your best friend's life?" This is my best friend at the time. It's like, did you realize that you saved your best friend's life? And I was like, I didn't look at it that way. I just felt like it was not a good idea for him to be trying to peek around the corner. And luckily I did grab him, because he would have got shot in the head and he wouldn't have been here anymore.
Yeah. Did he buy you dinner?
Love to.
You would have been my favorite friend of all time. I'm like, hey, what do you want for Christmas? You go on the top. It's you here, my wife, kids, the dog. You're up here. Permanent #1 spot. True.
That's
just can't pay back, right?
That's true. That is so true. But it taught me to put a lot of love into my poems though after that. And now pretty much my poems are actually based around love, building relationships, and helping to build a stronger and better society. So that's what my poems are based around. And when I do my motivational speakings, that's what everything is actually based around.
That's cool.
So I love that. I love that. JB, you got me laughing a lot, man. I appreciate
That's good. That's good. That's what we're here for, entertaining people, right? If I can entertain you, they'll be entertained too.
Yes, indeed, man. Yes, indeed. They gonna look at us and like, are you sure those guys are not brothers? Because they both crazy.
Well, hey, it could be worse, right? Yeah. So I'll take it. You can stand next to me anytime. You look like my bouncer. I'll stand. I don't know. You got to go ask him before I give you an autograph.
Exactly. I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you, JB. Hey, if they ask me to sign a contract, I'm gonna be like, look, you gotta go talk to my boy JB before I sign the contract, because he needs to read over it, you know.
I'll take care of you. No, I only take 10%.
Hey, that's generous. That's generous considering the greed in the society that we live in today.
Yeah. I try. I try. One big family, right?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Oh my goodness, man. I love it. So you did some training and education.
Yeah, so I played I went to University of Pittsburgh and then Michigan. I played hockey when I was in college, and then so when I wrote my bio, I cast myself as a character within my realm. So I hide everything in there. So if you could decode it, you know where I live, where I went to school, stuff like that. But I wrote it as if I was the chronicler of my realm.
Right.
You know, and I'll never forget one time I contacted a podcaster about being on the show, and the guy wrote back and said, we want you, if you're going to be on the show, we want you to send something in really creative, you know, because you're applying among 500 other people. We want to get you on here.
Right.
So I sent him that bio, and I was like, this is pretty creative. He sent me one back saying, what is this? Why would you send me this? And I was like, well, because you said you wanted something creative. And then I was like, you know what? It's going in the book. That's my new bio, right? So it's like, if you read through it, like you find out my, father was a peasant twerg, and he basically was, as a guy that, worked in the mill, and my uncle was paralyzed. He was a warrior, he was paralyzed in the war. My
I
mother
was
was
reading
a
that too.
local healer, which is a nurse. And you just start decoding all the stuff. You're like, I know who this guy is now. You're gonna find it out. So I'm not gonna make it easy on anybody, but go in there and with your Ralphie decoder ring and figure
Yes.
out where I am, and and where I went to school and stuff.
I love it. I was actually telling my wife, I was like, I love the way he did this bio. This bio. She was like, what do you mean? I was like, he did it as if he was a character in his own. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, this was so cool.
Go, this guy's a nerd, honey. Nerd right here. Geek qualifies.
I love
People
it.
like it. I mean, I don't know. It's like they've never seen that. And the funny thing is they'll go on some shows and people haven't read it beforehand like you did,
Oh,
and they'll start reading it and they'll be like, "Am I reading the right thing? Like, what is this?" And I'll be like, "No, just keep going, just keep going." And they'll stop like a paragraph in. I'm like, you didn't finish the end. You know what I mean? Like, go forward. And stuff like that. So I threw my wife in there. She used to play third base. I met her when we were athletes in college, and I met her,
awesome.
and she was on the softball team. I was on the hockey team,
Uh-huh.
and so I called her the Ranger of the Diamond for baseball. And my two dogs are named McLeod and Thor, which couldn't be any more sci-fi fantasy
Yeah,
names than
because I was
that.
looking at that name.
Yeah, so it's like I'm all in, man, like all in. It's just
Oh
it
my
is.
goodness.
So glad you liked it though, and tell your wife I'm glad she liked it as well.
I was like, oh my goodness. And I am. I'm going to tell her too. She's probably going to be laughing because she's always laughing at me. I'm always doing something silly.
She's gonna be
And
like, you're not allowed to read that guy's books. He's a
it's,
little crazy. Pick that one out. It didn't record.
no, no, believe it or not, she's actually very silly too. So she's
Oh,
like,
there
hey,
you go. A
stay
fan, a fan of nerddom. Welcome to my nerddom.
exactly.
I
Well,
like her already.
think about it like this. I graduated from 5 colleges, so what else could I be?
Yeah, that's a little nerdy.
Thank you.
A little nerdy.
Hey, what can I say? I love it. I love learning. I love education, and definitely love creative writing. And your bio is extremely creative. I love it.
It's a little ridiculous, but yeah, I'll take it.
I love it. I love it. I don't care what anybody else has to say about it. I love it because this right here was very entertaining. You couldn't have gotten more entertainment out of reading your bio than you could have out of reading a novel.
Well, I hope so. You know what I mean? And like I haven't seen anybody do that before.
Me
So I
neither.
figured, all right, I'll try it and see. And I've only had one guy balking, like it said you can't come on the show. Everybody else is like, what happened here? Especially if they're the kind of show that's going to have me on, they're
Yes.
going to like that. So I'm glad to hear it worked.
I mean, think about it. Train with him for the battles on the fields of green and sheets of ice. Like, come on, bro. Is
I
that
played hockey. It's just a sheet of ice.
how could you not like that? Like,
Yeah.
seriously.
I live in Pittsburgh, for God's sakes. It's ice here 6 months out of the year.
Hey, what can I say?
Just deal with it. Yeah. So I'm surprised we don't wear skates out, starting in October and just skate down.
I'm from Chicago, so I
You
really
get it. You get it.
exactly.
Some cold stuff there, man.
Yes, indeed. When the cold hits, hey, and I think that's probably why my friends and my children keep calling me Hulk. Like they like they do. They keep calling me Hulk. I say Hulk doesn't have a beard, so let me grow my beard.
Yeah, you know what? But I see it. I mean, you can see it, right?
JB, you're not right, man. You're not helping the situation, man.
Well, you can see it. You do this. do this. Come on. Show me the gun show. Yes. Yes, you would pass. You'd be just fine. A little Lou Ferrigno in you, you're fine.
The old school Hulk at that.
Yeah, see? That's none of this Mark Ruffalo thing. Come on, that's all CGI, man. You got the real deal there.
I know, right?
Yeah. You got the real deal.
I swear, man, my family, they would love you right about now.
Your kids are also gentlemen and scholars or whatever. Yes.
And wait, I'm going to tell my daughter to make sure she looks at this podcast right here.
She's a kind and gentle soul, that daughter of yours.
Oh my goodness. The daughters are the one who give us the most hell. They keep us on our toes big time.
Yeah.
Like you cannot say that you're a daddy if you don't take care of your daughter. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's why they're called daddy's little girl, not mommy's. Daddy's little girl.
And she is definitely daddy's little girl. Even though she's 21 years old, she's still daddy's little girl.
That doesn't go away. That does not go away. There's no expiration date on that.
Exactly.
Boys, 16. Hey, you're on your own. You know, girls, no.
Depending on their maturity level, it might be 13.
Hey, you can feed yourself. Go.
Yes. Hey, you know how to cook.
Daughters can stay as long as they want, right?
Exactly. Exactly. You can stay as long as you want to. And the beauty of it is there's no guy that's ever going to be good enough for her. Ever.
You kind of want it that way, right? Daddy's little girl. I get it, man. I get it. No one ever.
Me and my brother, we always said that if my daughter gets a boyfriend, because she's single right now, but she gets a boyfriend, then he and I are going to do the guy the same way Martin Lawrence and Will Smith did the guy on Bad Boys.
For the Bad Boys, Bad Boys 1, Bad Boys 2, Bad Boys for Life. Yeah, it's like it was Danny Glover in the Lethal Weapon movies with Mel Gibson hitting on his daughter. Like, no. A line in the sand there, man.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. The guys are gonna hate us like, oh my goodness, where'd you get these types?
Oh, they're gonna be scared. They're gonna walk up to your house, see you stand in the door to greet them. She's gonna be back by 9, right? 9.
Not 901.
901. I'm gonna see you outside. I'll wait for you in the parking lot. Well, she's got to appreciate that.
And my daughter knows. She know I'll be waiting for real. Like, hey, what you doing? Yeah. Watch where you put your hands, sir.
You're like the chaperone at the dance that puts the balloon between the boy and the girl.
Indeed.
Go close in this balloon.
Touch. Don't touch.
Yeah, so she has a Hulk as a dad. I mean, what boy's going to screw her? Nothing. Yes, sir. No, sir. Whatever you need, sir.
Say, if you don't want that Hulk smash, stay away.
I like that.
And I actually did one of the little things on TikTok. They had my body all green and everything, and I was like, "Oh, smash!" And everybody stopped. My wife is like, "What are you doing?" And I showed it to her. She started cracking up laughing.
Oh man! Here you are saying you're not the Hulk. You were green on a TikTok video. I think that counts forever. Forever. That's now out in the ether. The public domain sees you as Hulk.
My daughter said that is so you, Dad. That is so you. Oh my goodness!
You're wearing the wrong shirt.
I'm wearing the wrong. I should have had the green shirt.
Well, Captain America is he's kind of buff these days. He's not like Hulk buff, but he's buff.
Yes, he is kind of bold. You got to give it to him. Of course, I don't think I could be as militant as he is.
Yeah, that's a little yes sir, no sir, right? Yeah.
I give him credit for the nerdy side, but the militant side, no.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Goodness. So, which character in your books would you say is closest to who you are?
Uh, hmm, that's a good one because like all of my characters have a little piece of me in them, right? And somewhere in there, there's something I identify with that I feel is strong enough to tell a story around, right? So I think that the one, and this is a bit of a cheat, so but I'm going to say it because it's the truthful answer. Sir Ritter of Vulcaneer is a character that is he's difficult, uh,
Uh-huh.
but he used to be one of my Dungeons and Dragons characters, so I actually played him. You know,
Okay.
in the realm, he's known as a Trollborn, which is something that's not of pure blood. He's kind of like a muggle from Harry Potter, right? So he's half elven, half raven elf, and half human.
Uh-huh.
So the raven elves and the humans both look down on him, right? So that's problem number one, you know.
Right.
And then he's of low noble birth. Like his father has like the worst job in all the land, where he has to guard the kingdom from
Mhm.
all these monsters that live in the mountains, right? And they constantly raid, and they're out there. It's like the most thankless job, but the most necessary job
Uh-huh.
in many respects, is guarding this one very critical pathway into the kingdom and
Right.
out of the kingdom. So pilgrimages go that way, merchants go that way, you know, and he's got this job where no one likes him, no one respects him. He's looked down on. They
Uh-huh.
basically make fun out of him,
Wow.
and his job is to guard the most dangerous part of the realm. And it turns out that he falls in love with the princess, and
Uh-huh.
she has this forbidden love with him. And as a result, she starts to fall for him, not understanding why. Now that she sees the nobility in this guy and how thankless and how dutiful he is,
Wow.
and that he's willing to do this, even though no one likes him, he's still doing it for the betterment of the realm.
Mhm.
She sees that nobility in him. She falls in love with that, but she's not allowed to be with him because he's a trollborn.
Oh,
And on Ritter's side, it's like the duty that he's required to do is to take a knee and stay away, but he can't help himself because he's in love with her too. He sees her as a noble person who's going to change their culture by changing what she believes in and bringing everybody else to, you know, when she's queen, you know, or wherever, you know, they'll come together. And so they have this like unspoken, really kind of slow burn love thing going on through books, you know, 3 and 4. And then we'll see what happens at the end of book 4. And, you know, does he get the girl? Does she get the guy? Do they decide that, you know, society's going to pull them apart and they're not allowed to be together? Kind of
uh-huh.
something that they love one another. And so I think there's a lot of, you know, there's some social stuff in there you could take out.
Right.
And, you know, you know, I see myself a lot in that character, in the sense that, you know, I've come from a family that served. Like every man in my family was in the military in some capacity.
Okay.
You know, we came from very limited means. I grew up in a projects as like the one white family among all black kids. So it was like a little nuts to do that. And then we moved. My dad was a worker bee, so he went to work in the mill, and we eventually moved out. You know, got into a low income area, which then became a moderate income area, living the American dream one step at a time, kind of stuff. And so
Mhm.
I saw from Ritter the other side of that, which was, you know, look, we have this call to duty that we have to be there to protect everybody, you
Uh-huh.
know, and then also the societal challenges of being sort of the ostracized one, the different one among groups that was difficult to be, you know. And you just learn, you know, as you're growing up that, hey, you stick with your friends, stick with your family. You can't
Yes.
listen to all the white noise outside. Just keep your head down, keep doing it, and people will respect you for who you become. And that's what Ritter becomes. And so I think that, to answer your question, I think I see a lot more now. Ritter's a lot braver than I am. He's a
Okay.
lot tougher than I am. You know, he's you know, his story is one that will always, you know,
Uh,
land on the moon where I'm landing on the roof. You know, and you know, so but from that perspective, I enjoy writing him, and I think he's the closest to me.
gotcha. So he's
Great
like the
question,
one
by the way.
that
Great
adds
question.
oh, thank you so much. He's the one that adds that alter ego to the person that you would have liked to have been in some ways, and then the person that you are. in some way. So
Yeah. Yeah, try to aspire to be that, but can never attain that because he's Ritter and I'm not. I'm JV.
he's a hybrid you.
Yeah, if that's what I would want to be, I ain't gonna make it. But that's where I want to go. I'm gonna be the best me I can be.
There you go. There you go, JB. I love it. I love it. And speaking of the projects, oh my goodness, that's where I got them into the most trouble. But at the same time, it's also where I made the most money.
See,
Yep.
see. Well, there you go. I mean, you make your own fortune, right? You make your own fate, and you do
Yes.
those kind of things. And we definitely have similar backgrounds.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and I can see that you've learned and grown out of that and moved on. And, we've done the same.
I used to cut hair in the projects and I was making a pretty good amount of money. I mean, I cut hair from the age of 10 and I still cut hair now, but just not for money. Back then I was doing it for money. And it was great because it was like I was like a local drug dealer making $400 to $800 a day.
Cutting hair.
Yeah, because I do went in Chicago, we had a lot of projects. So I
Oh,
was
yeah,
able
yeah, yeah.
to go from one project to the other project because I was the only barber that wasn't associated with any type of gang affiliation. So
Oh,
it made it easy for me to go from one project to the next project and be able to cut hair and no problem. And my clientele was awesome because I was able to have people that literally came from different parts of Michigan, Detroit, Kalamazoo, and people even came from Kankakee and East St. Louis and suburbs and stuff like that. Because they didn't want anybody else to cut their hair. They only wanted me to cut their hair. So they would come down from these different places. And I had a spot where they could actually come and I would cut their hair. So I had a lot of fun in the projects, but I also got into trouble in the projects too.
well, yeah.
I would get in trouble during school, but during the summer, I was making the most money.
Yeah, I'll tell you that. Well, you cashed out there when you can, man. That's not a bad way to live.
What can I say?
Especially as a kid. Like, what do you do with that, man? How many video games can you buy? You
Exactly.
know?
Except for in my case, it wasn't so much of the video games. I was more into the girls. So I was kind of like,
You can buy a lot of girls with that kind of money.
I was a little Romeo.
Look at you. You're hulking Romeo. What don't you do? I should write a story about you.
Come on down.
My next character.
I give you all the D's. Let's get.
All right, that's scary, and I'm not going to do that.
Your new character is going to be a player.
No, hey, that's not my kind of writing, man. Keep that on that side. I don't write that kind of stuff. My wife might read it. I don't.
No, I'm messing with you, JB.
All right, it's all good. It's all good.
The next question is, are you gonna at some point, is it in the plan to make one of the characters look exactly like you?
No. Nobody wants to be like me. That's not a good story, man. Not a good story. I mean, I wish.
And what about
What? No, what? No. No. No one wants these pipes. No one wants this face. That's for sure. This is like a 4 out of 10 on a good day.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Hey, I'm self-aware. That's one thing. You know what I mean? And my wife doesn't love me for my face or my muscles. I can tell you that much.
Hey.
So, but hey, I'm happy. But in no way ever am I gonna have a character of myself. No, I'd never live that down if I did. My friends are just, man law. That would never happen.
Look, you just had to go and put yourself in there, huh? That's how your friends gonna be looking at you. You just had to go and put yourself in there, huh? Now,
Look at this.
You go and make one of these.
You're the handsome version of you, the rich version of you, the muscular version of you. That ain't you. Get out of your head.
Never know, JB. I mean, it may increase the sales. You never know.
People are like, it's got me on the cover, you know, instead of some of my characters on the cover. No, that's gonna decrease
Come
sales.
on,
That's I don't know.
it's not
That's
true. You can't be overly critical. Come on, JB, you gotta
hey, look,
at some point.
face for radio, man. Face for radio. I I know I know where I fit into society here. And it ain't on the cover of a magazine, or definitely ain't on the cover of a book. I can tell you that much.
Have you seen some of the faces they put on magazines these days?
Yeah, yeah, I know. I wonder how many of those get bought. Because you want to see that sitting around your house, right?
Wake up in the middle of the night thinking you want to read something, you get scared when you just to pick up the cover.
Yeah, cover's supposed to make you want to open it up, not throw it away.
Exactly.
So, yeah, so nope, ain't gonna happen. Ain't gonna happen.
So now during your journey, what has been some of the most uplifting moments that you've had that you would definitely share with peers, your audience, and people alike?
Well, I think that what motivates me is when I go to a book signing or a convention, or I'm doing things like this, and people tell you how much they like your stuff, or when they can't wait for the next one, or they tell you they cried at something, or they laughed out loud at something. That kind of stuff is so, first of all, it's humbling, and secondly, it's motivating. It's like, well, people really care about these characters. They want to see more of it, you know, and you want to continue to write and send them to the next novel and the next, because these stories are still in my head. It's I gotta get them out and onto paper,
Yes.
and I think that's the stuff that's most rewarding, is when someone gives you a 5 star on an Amazon review, or they seek that guy with the baseball card. I was like, you want to talk about, I was like, how does that happen? Like, I never in my life thought that that would happen. Or someone saying, hey, you know what, we want to make a video game out of your stuff, or a graphic. No, it's I'm grateful that people enjoy my stuff, and I write to entertain, right? I'm not writing for political points. I'm not writing to make a cultural statement. I'm writing so people, so can you go to a movie? You don't want to be preached at, right? You want to go to a movie and be entertained. Well, when you pick up a
Yes.
book, you want to be entertained, right? So for me, I do that, and it's really, it's uplifting. I think when people come up to you and tell you how much they like it, or when they come up to you and they give you constructive criticism that's real. Not
Yes.
people that are just like,
Yes.
nah, 2 stars, I didn't like it. Well, that doesn't help me. Tell me what you
Exactly.
didn't like so I can improve as a writer. Like, this is what I do, so tell me what you didn't like. Now, maybe I can't change that. Maybe it's my writing style, or you didn't like the way that the book ended and you're not going to read the next. Okay, that's fine, but at least, you take something away, like iron sharpens iron. And, for someone that needs to be a better writer every time he goes to write something, I don't mind those things, and make me better, and will make my work better, and then more people will enjoy it.
I totally agree with you 100%. I kid you not. And I've always been one that I love it when people keep it real with me. Just say it. Just say it.
You're
Don't
an
beat
author
around.
too, right? So you get it.
Yes, yes, indeed. Don't beat
And
around.
not everybody's going to like your stuff.
Exactly. And I
Mhm.
expect that. I expect for not everyone to like it. And the one thing that really inspired me to keep going is when I can honestly say that 5 people that I run into during my time of writing poetry, these people stated that they were not into poetry, but they read my poetry frequently and they comment on my poetry frequently because they say they like the fact that you don't have to really try and figure out what I'm writing about, because once that you see that title, it's like, oh, I can imagine what this is about. But sometimes I kind of switch it up a little bit. I kind of put the title to talk about what I'm going to write about, but it's like a homonym. It kind of means is one thing, but it's actually another thing inside of the story. And they are like, oh, wow, I like the way you did that. And that right there inspires me to keep moving, keep it going. Don't stop writing, keep writing, because people are actually paying attention to what you're writing. So I
Yeah.
definitely can relate.
Oh, good. Good.
Really.
And I got to read some of your poetry now.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you.
It's man to man. I've never thought I'd ever say that to somebody, but I'll do it. I'll take one for the team on that.
Thank you, my friend. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing more of your stuff because I feel like, oh my goodness, I after reading this bio and checking out some of the stuff on the website, I definitely want to see how far this is gonna go. I love it. I love it.
Welcome to the dark corners and recesses of my mind, my friend.
Well, coming from one author to the other author, I look at it as thank you for adding another level of creativity to the life in which we live.
Hey, look, I could say the same for you. And like I said, I appreciate the opportunity to come on here and meet your audience and have a chance to chat with you. It's been a lot of fun.
I
We've
think
made this hour go real quick.
I think my audience is gonna love this. I kid you not. I think they're gonna love this one big time. So take us out with something motivational. What would you like for the world to know?
So, motivationally or promotionally?
Both. Let's yeah, yeah.
So I'll say this motivationally to my fellow authors that are out there. I want to impart three pieces of advice which I think are important for any author. The first is I try to write every day, and you have to make writing like muscle memory. And when it's almost like when you're on a diet and you break the diet, you feel guilty, or you don't go to the gym that day, you kind of feel fat. That's what you need to feel when you're an author. Now, I'm not saying you have to write a chapter or your novel every single day, but even if you're outlining something, sitting in front of your computer, rereading something, making tweaks and editing, all that stuff, it gives you a sense that when you don't do it, that you're missing doing it. And I think that, that helps me with part two, which is writer's block. Like when you're working on stuff, usually you know where you're going. And if you get that writer's block stuff, just reach out to other creatives, pick up the phone, call some friends, get into a writer's group. People's ideas will flow at you, and then you'll find your way around that writer's block. You'll say, oh, I got it. I know where I'm going with this. And number three, be open to constructive criticism. I know I was teasing before about it, but at the end of the day, you're only going to get better if people are honest with you about what they see as flaws. Some of those things you might disagree with, and you don't have to adopt them. You can say, oh, that's just that person, but at the end of the day, I find that there's some seed of truth in that you can take and find better. I'll give you one example. I had someone that gave me a 2-star on an Amazon rating one time that said, I bought this book for its cover. It looked fantastic. I wanted to love it, but I couldn't get past 50 pages, did not finish. 2 stars. And for the first 10 seconds, I was mad. I was like, sheesh, it couldn't have been that bad. And then after that 10 seconds went away and my anger dissipated, I realized, hey, they liked the cover and the cover did its job.
Yeah.
So you took something out of that. So, those are the kind of things you look for, those nuggets of wisdom in there. And you found out that even though they might not have liked the book, they bought the book for its cover. So, it's something you can do as you move on and on as part of that. And then, on the promotional side, I would say that if you're interested in reading more about me, just go to jvhilliard.com. You can also find me pretty much any distribution channel you want. So if you like Amazon, you go into your local Barnes and Noble or Books A Million. You want an audiobook, you want an ebook, you can download it at about 20 different distribution channels. Find me there. And of course, you can go to my publisher at dragonmoonpress.com. And if that's not a nerdy enough name for you, then I don't know what is. Dragonmoonpress.com. Come on, buy a book just based on the name of the publisher. I think that would be fun. And then if you don't mind looking out for my video game next year or the graphic novel, they're coming.
Yes.
So if you like the novels, you'll like both of those.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Everybody, please make sure you are checking out Mr. JB's info. Do not hesitate to reach out and definitely give some words of encouragement to keep it going because JB, I must admit, man, you're very creative. I love what I've seen so far, and I'm definitely gonna look more into it. And you'll know I'm there because you're gonna see that Yehloe look forward to YTP Entertainment down there making a comment. So you'll know I'm there.
Yeah, it's all good, man. It's all good. Yeah, I'm gonna have to read. You're gonna read my fantasy. I have to read your man-to-man poetry. So Keep it a promise, man. Just keep it a promise.
Hey, look, in my own defense, the beauty about my poetry is it's for everybody. It's not just for one particular sex of
I
people.
I
It's for
I
everybody.
tease, but I'll tell you this. I own a magazine, it's an e-magazine called Altered Reality. And if you go to Altered
Okay.
Reality Mag, I print speculative poetry and speculative fiction. So it's like poetry for horror novels and sci-fi and fantasy. So it's a little bit of a nerdy spin to it. And then on the other side, every one of my novels has a bit of poetry in it and or a song that I've written that gets played out at the battlefield or whatever it is. So
Hey.
it's so look, I tease, but I'm there with you.
Many blessings, my brother. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, no problem.
JP, it has been a pleasure. I am so happy to have had this podcast. You definitely made it exciting and fun. And I love your work, man. I love your work. Never stop, man.
Thank
Never
you very much.
stop.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate that too.
Thank you so much, my brother. Everybody, please follow Mr. JB Hilliard and check out the series. Do not underestimate the hard work that this brother is doing. And please make sure that whatever you do, you follow, like, and subscribe. All right, my brother, peace and blessings.
I'll take it.
Thank you for
Thank you, sir.
everything. Definitely a pleasure. And you continue the many blessings.
Same to you, sir.